Larry Kudlow's with us this morning. Straightforward, direct question, Larry, if I may. Do you think that Biden actually wants Israel to destroy Hamas? Is he willing to take the heat from the destruction of Gaza?
Well, look, yes. My short answer is yes. My second answer is it's not going to be up to Biden because, as you heard Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday, and you read his op-ed in the Wall Street Journal today,
Yep.
Israel has no intentions of engaging in any ceasefire. This idea of a humanitarian pause, which the Bidens have floated ambiguously, is an absolute non-starter. I mean, I don't think they're going to put the handcuffs on Israel because they can't, okay? But I think they've been very ambiguous. And I think Williams' report just prior to this is so important because one of the things, the Bidens in their, they have not enforced the sanctions, okay? They have appeased Iran from day one, and that makes them complicit. Actually, those numbers are even bigger. Oil sales to China plus other foreign exchange reserves, that includes drone sales to Russia and so forth. You could be running up to $75 or $80 billion of reserves. They had almost nothing when Trump left office. They were virtually bankrupt. So the Bidens should stop appeasing Iran. The Bidens, by the way, should start defending American military assets. They didn't, lobbing a missile into Syria with an unmanned ammo center. I mean, what does that do? They should be ending the command and control system and the training system that Iran has set up in Iraq. That's another problem. They should stop a ship, as Joni Ernst just said, as I've suggested to Joni and other senators, enforce the sanctions, stop a ship, and if they see a false flag, interdict and stop that ship in order to enforce the sanctions. So, you know, they got a lot of work to do. But will they stop Israel? No, I don't think so.
Do you think the war in Ukraine and now the war on Israel, do you think those two wars would have started if Donald Trump was still the president?
I do not. I absolutely do not. As someone who served on the as a director of NEC, I served on the National Security Council. I do not believe that. Look, again, as William reported before, do you think it's a coincidence? Trump took out Soleimani, Iran's biggest military strongman, the guy who was running all this terrorism in the Middle East. Trump took him out, okay? What happened? Nothing. Why didn't anything happen? Because Iran was broke, that's why. And incidentally, Trump told the mullahs that he had their phone numbers and their street addresses where they live. So I think he was a strong guy.
Did he really?
Yes, he told them that. Yes.
That's a direct threat.
That
He'd
is
go
correct.
after the mullahs. Whoa. No wonder nothing happened.
Look, of course, you know, Trump believed in peace through strength, and sometimes you have to demonstrate strength, like taking out a Soleimani or a Baghdadi or bombing ISIS in Syria into smithereens and ending that threat. Sometimes you have to take an action. What the Bidens haven't figured out is appeasement is not an action. That's their problem. They need deterrence. The ultimate problem here is Iran. But I think Israel will destroy Hamas no matter what Biden has to say, no matter what ambiguities, no matter what handcuffs he thinks he's putting on. I think Bibi Netanyahu made that absolutely 100% clear. And by the way, Stu, I invite your attention to a very important article, Benny Avni in the New York Sun today. A lot of the Arab countries who signed on to the Abraham Accords, no matter what they may say publicly in rhetoric, they want to see Israel take out Hamas because they don't like Hamas and they don't like Hezbollah and they don't like Iran any more than you or I do.
Out of time, but it was good stuff, Larry. And we'll be watching you this afternoon, 4 o'clock. Larry Kudlow, everyone. Good stuff. Thank you very much indeed, sir.